Hi, it's Sally-Shakti, your visionary writing guide, and welcome to Tarot and Astrology for Visionary Writers from Monday the 7th to Sunday the 13th of August 2023. Welcome from the bottom of my heart, and thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful to all of you who are here watching this right now, and especially to anyone and everyone who liked, commented, and subscribed last week. I really appreciate you. I set the target in last week's video to reach up to 200 followers by the end of August, and we'd already smashed that by the end of July. So thank you so much for joining us, and I really appreciate it. Every one of you who likes, comments, subscribes, or shares this with your friends helps us to reach more people. And it seems to me that more people are wanting to hear this. I don't know specifically what I mean by this. I don't have a particular agenda, but I am noticing that this resonates, and it's really affirming feedback for me to see that this is resonating with so many people, and supports me to keep going. So thank you so much. We have a powerful week of energies this week, and again, I'm going to preface this this video by saying that I'm unexpectedly away from home, so I'm creating this video without my astrological diary and without a tarot deck. So I'm doing it somewhat blind, but that said, I've been making a note of the most prevalent and powerful energies that are showing up, that I think might be relevant or might be impacting you, certainly are impacting me. And that's what I'm working with. I'm working with this list of notes, and I'm not even sure if we'll get through all of it. There is so much going on this week. So where are we now? It's Monday the 7th of August. This week takes us right through to Sunday the 13th. And big energy that we have coming up tomorrow is the 8-8 Lion's Gate. So the Lion's Gate portal is connected to the rising of Sirius, the dog star. Sirius also is known as the soul star. Sirius is a star that is larger than our sun, but because it is so far away, we see it as a star, which our sun is a star as well. Sirius is the spiritual star of our cosmos, of our galaxy. It's the star that supports and increases and expands our soul alignment because it is so big. So when Sirius begins to rise on the horizon in the constellation of Cancer, and we begin to see Sirius rise around this time when our sun is in Leo, that is what's known as the Lion's Gate portal. The Lion's Gate portal was particularly significant to the Egyptian pyramids, which are aligned with Sirius energies. I think I have that right. I might be wrong on that, but I think I have that right. Yeah, I'm thinking of the Sphinx, but I would need to check my facts on that. So we have this portal opening with the rising of Sirius, our spiritual star, our soul consciousness, our soul light consciousness, and that energy peaks on August the 8th. And we have also the numerology of 8-8. 8 is the number of infinity. 8 is the number of abundance. So we have this number of infinite abundance. It's the infinity symbol. It's the sign of abundance. And it's the peak of this period of time, which we call the Lion's Gate portal, where we are opening, our souls are opening to greater illumination from the Sirius soul star that's rising on the eastern horizon. This year, the numerology of 2023 adds up to 7. 2 plus 2 plus 3 is 7. So this year, our numerology on 8/8 will be 887. Next year, when we get into 2024, 2 plus 2 plus 4 is 8. We'll be in an 8 year. That the symbolism of next year is about this 8 energy, infinity, abundance, strength in the tarot, the lion energy that is represented by strength in the tarot, the woman and the lion, which also resonates with the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet, the lion-headed woman, the lioness. These energies are going to be coming through very strongly for us next year in 2024. And I just want to kind of flag up that next year on the 8/8 portal, the numerology will be 888, 888. Now, you might have seen that on the jackpot signs of, what do you call those things? I want to say turnstile, but that is not the right word. Oh, you know the ones I mean, where you win the money. And when it comes up with 888, you win the jackpot. So 888 is numerologically associated with infinity and abundance, and that's next year's Lionsgate portal. It's going to be 888 next year. This year we're at 88, and that portal will be opening. It's time for, let's think of it in terms of the abundance of our soul's infinite wisdom, the abundance of our soul's infinite source of light, and our true alignment, to our own true self-worth, self-value, self-knowledge. All of these things are also very much Leo energies. We are in this, our sun is in the fire sign of Leo, moving through the fire sign of Leo, and we are called into our own self-worth, self-knowledge, self-expression, especially around creativity, creative self-expression. If you are a visionary writer or creative, you may be feeling the call to perhaps new forms of creative self-expression, or perhaps to commit yourself more fully and more deeply to your current forms of creative self-expression. That might express itself physically through the body in forms like dance, sensuality, sexuality, voice, the voice, embodied self-expression, vocally embodied self-expression. It might present itself on the page, in writing, through visual art, particularly through material forms that you create in this world. Leo energy wants us to create in this world and wants us to show up in our highest self and shine our highest light. When we couple that with the 8/8 Lionsgate, and we have Sirius opening up to invite us into greater self-worth, self-abundance, spiritual knowledge, higher frequencies of light that are becoming available to us, that we can, again, as the magician, as the alchemist, we get to embody and channel and transmute and bring into physical form through our creative self-expression. So we have that very powerful, fiery energy of light coming through, self-expressive, self-abundance, calling us to connect with our own self-worth and self-knowledge so that we can creatively self-express in the world. But what we have also at this time, also in Leo, is Venus retrograde. Venus is retrograding and will conjunct the sun this coming Sunday on the 13th for the Venus star point. And when Venus moves across the cosmos, she draws the pentagram. The pentagram is a sacred geometric symbol that is very much associated with Venus as the goddess of love, the goddess of the heart, the goddess of self-worth, self-value, that she draws this, she creates this pentagram in the sky, in the cosmos, as she moves across and conjuncts with and connects with the sun throughout her journey, throughout her cosmic journey. Venus is the planet that will be the evening star and then retrograde and come back and be reborn as the morning star, just as the same as the moon conjuncts the sun every month and goes to the phase of the dark moon and then conjuncts the sun and is reborn as the new moon. The Venus makes that same connection with the sun, and every time she makes that connection with the sun, which is a longer period than the moon, every time she makes that connection with the sun, she connects with a star point that draws this pentagram in the sky. Venus is currently retrograding and will conjunct with the sun this Sunday on the 13th of August, and that will be her darkest point before rebirth. Venus is the planet that is associated with the oldest narrative story that we are currently aware of in human history, which is the story of Inanna. Inanna's descent into the underworld and then subsequent her descent into the underworld, her stripping back of all of the layers of her external, I want to say egoic, but there's a, external reality, to take her back to that dark alchemical point of what is truly here, what is truly real for me, when all of the external adornments are stripped away. Venus is retrograding back to that darkest point of herself, the point of Inanna hanging there on the meat hook in that story, the lowest point of selflessness or the death of the self, so that the self can be reborn. And Venus is about self-worth. She's asking us in this time to consider and reconsider, what is our self-worth? What do we value? What do we value in ourselves? What do we value in others? What are we wanting to create from what we value and what we feel passionate about? And what gives back to us in the ways and in the forms that we create? What are we receiving back, so that we are also nourished by our creative practices and our creative processes? Because often I speak about burnout on this path, the visionary writer or creative path. So often we can, or I have experienced burnout on this path. And so often for me, that is related to giving my energy away to projects or people that are not nourishing and are not self-replenishing, that are depleting. So Venus retrograde is this opportunity and invitation to look at where we are focusing our energy, where we are directing our creative energy, our creative life force, especially in Leo. Where are we directing our creative self-expression? And is that nourishing for us? Is that self-replenishing for our energy? Or are we depleting ourselves in the process? That's a question for us all to be considering during this Venus retrograde period. And that reaches its lowest point, its darkest point, its rebirth point on Sunday this week. So we have two really powerful portals this week. Tuesday the 8th, the 8-8 Lion's Gate, where we can open to greater illumination from our soul star. And Sunday the 13th, when Venus enters the final stages of her death, her completion, and prepares to be reborn anew with new focus, new direction, and new intention for where she wants, where you want, where we want to focus our creative self-expression in order to feel nourished and replenished by the creative work and the creative life force that we are putting out into the world. We might feel like we're in the darkness at this time. There are a lot of energies that are taking us into this deep inner alchemy. We still have that tight and strong cardinal T-square with Pluto in Capricorn and the moon's nodes in Aries and Libra. And as I've mentioned before, if you have planets or points in your natal chart at between 29, 27 degrees of the cardinal signs, and I would add that if you're particularly sensitive, you can go as far out as 25 degrees. Certainly I feel it with my natal sun at 25 degrees of Cancer. This creates that cardinal, if you have something at 25 or 25 to 29 degrees of Cancer, that's creating the fourth point of a cardinal grand cross. And if you don't have something at that point, then you'll still be feeling the cardinal T-square that we're all moving through, that we're all experiencing right now, which means that we're in the middle of this very, very tight tension in our energies. And the cardinal signs want us to initiate, they want us to move forward, they want us to start some new project, they want us to initiate in the four core elemental energies: Earth, Capricorn; fire, Libra; fire, Aries; water, Cancer; and air, Libra. And yet there is no movement. There's no movement at the moment for those new ideas, those new projects, those new visions to move forward, because that energy is very, very tight at the moment. So you might feel like you're in the dark. You might feel like you're being pulled in multiple directions without a clear outcome or possibility for movement. And you might feel some frustration that you want to get something started and it's not moving. That's where we are with the astrological energies at the moment. And you can come back to your practices to support you to feel into this and to be present with it whilst we move through or feel like we're not moving through these particular energies. And I do encourage you to come back to your journal, to be practicing your creative practice, your creative process, whatever that is, every day, even if it doesn't feel like you know where it's going, or you know what you want to do with it, or you have a particular destination in mind. Visionary writing and creative practice is not always about having a fixed destination or product or intention, or something that we can wrap up and commodify in a capitalist sense. It's much, much more about the process. It's about leaning into our practice as a process and allowing ourselves to be guided, allowing ourselves to be shown by the practice where that wants to take us, what it wants us to see, what doors and possibilities it would like to open up, and it is opening up for us. One of the main things that our practices process can do and does do is help us to shift some of that stuck energy, help us to put down onto the page some of those energies that are not serving us, to hold them in our bodies and our energy fields, get them down onto the page, get them out into your practice, whatever form your practice takes, to move the energy through. And as we commit to being with our practice as process, and the energy starts to move again, then opportunities open up for healing and transformation and transmutation and change and new ideas to come through. All the time we're sitting with that stuck energy and we're not doing anything with it, if we're waiting to feel inspired or motivated before we start creating, then we're staying in that stuck energy and not giving it the opportunity to move. And I've really noticed this myself over the last week in my own practice, being fully committed to my journaling practice every day and to a writing practice every day without a clear outcome or intention or direction, being committed to my practice as process, as practice, has helped me to begin moving through the tensions and frustrations of these astrological energies that we are in. I have been feeling depressed for several weeks, and committing myself to come back to the practice has opened up my energy in a way that has enabled me to begin to access the healing that I need. And as I have journaled every day and as I have been writing every day, I notice other modalities coming into my field that are supporting me to move through and shift the energy and to begin to feel lighter so that I can begin to move forward and feel more inspired. I was very blessed to have the opportunity to participate in an online drum journey last week, and from there many things opened up and flowed, and I had lots of opportunities. I had a mentoring session. I did a Kundalini creativity session, all of these with beautiful people who have come into my life, beautiful friends, beautiful practitioners who are so powerful in what they do, and in their generosity to share their practices with me, I have been able to shift a lot of energy and feel more inspired. And now there are so many new ideas coming through, and whilst it's still not necessarily time to implement those new ideas, I feel much lighter, much more inspired, much more ready to move, and much more committed to my practice, because it's that commitment to my practice that is moving me forward, that is opening up the energy for change, and that is supporting me on my path, helping me to be more connected to my own intuition that guides me in the right direction. So I really can't recommend that enough, especially through this period whilst we're going through this time that might be feeling like a dark night of the soul. We have Venus retrograde, we have the cardinal T-square, we also have Chiron retrograde, we have other planets getting ready to go retrograde, Mercury's getting ready to go retrograde, let's make that a word. By the end of this year, we'll have 7 planets retrograde. So again, we're moving into a period of time where we are being invited and encouraged to do more of the internal work. And I want to share as well that this path, this visionary writing and creative path, there's something about doing that deep inner work. You know, when you're doing Pluto work, you know, when you're doing work with the moon's nodes, and you know when you're doing retrograde work, because healing in those practices, in those energies, is not such a simple process of releasing and letting go. You'll have heard me speaking in recent videos about releasing and letting go of the old narratives. Yes, that's essential. But when we're doing that work in the energy of Pluto, when we're doing that work in the energy of the moon's nodes, or Venus retrograde, or Chiron retrograde, or other planets retrograde, we're doing that work in a way that's more about transmutation than shedding. I'm noticing that it's about, for me, it's about the deepening into being present with the discomfort, not to keep grasping after what feels like it might be a quick fix or an easy solution or something that I can do now to change and to avoid the discomfort. It's about staying as far as possible, as far as we have the capacity to, staying with that discomfort and recognizing what it has to teach us so that we can integrate that. And this is where we become Chiron. This is where we become the wounded healer. This is where we become the teacher to others from what we have integrated through our own healing journey, and not just simply what we have discarded or avoided or moved away from. When we really are in that process and in that deep invitation to integrate our healing by being present with the discomfort and learning and integrating what it has to teach us, perhaps through our journaling, perhaps through our practice. This is where we get the deeper transmutation of those energies. And this is where, as I say, we become the teacher, the healer, the guide for others to move through the healing that we have ourselves dived deep into, to fully integrate and own in our own bodies and in our own energy. And that teaching, that healing that you bring to others might come in the form of teaching, but it may also come through the creative practices that you share, the creative products, if you like, that you create and share with others. If you are a visual artist or a sculptor or a poet or a writer, you will be, as I've mentioned many times before, we encode the light codes and frequencies that we are downloading and channeling. We encode those into our creative practices, our creative processes. And when we share our creativity with others through either the product or through teaching, however, whichever forms we're choosing to share our creativity with others, we are alchemizing those frequencies and transmitting them, channeling them to the people who we're sharing our light with. Now, for visionary writers and creatives, when we're in this period of this dark night of the soul, this Inanna in the underworld, this retrograde period, this Pluto deep evolutionary soul energy, we also are able to share our alchemy. We're able to share what we are healing through transmutation as we share our creativity with others, because the frequency of that alchemy is also encoded into our creativity. And that is what we are sharing with others through our creative process. So if ever you have been questioning, who am I to share what I do with others? Who am I to say this? Who am I to step forward? Who am I to teach? Who am I to share my writing or my drawings or my creations? I really invite you to reframe that. Who am I not to? Because what you are experiencing is what you are alchemizing, and it's the frequency that you are sharing with the world. And the more you're able to share that in your own vulnerability, the more deeply you will touch other people in that, at the heart level, and viscerally and energetically, and support them to open up to their own healing and transformation journey too. So what you do and what you create and what you share, even in your vulnerability, even in the messy imperfection, is absolutely right on time and essential. And you are so loved by the universe, and you're so invited by Leo and by Sirius and by the 8/8 Lionsgate energies to show up and shine even in the darkness of your vulnerability, because that alchemy is part of your presence, it's part of your frequency, and it's part of what you're encoding into your creativity. I want to briefly touch on Mars and Mercury in Virgo. I'll talk a lot more about Virgo as the sun moves into Virgo and Mercury goes retrograde in Virgo in a couple of weeks' time. We currently have Mars and Mercury in Virgo, and I want to just touch on that every fire sign is followed by an earth sign. So we've got the sun in Leo, we've got Venus retrograde in Leo, we've got the Lion's Gate happening in Leo. Although Sirius rises in the sign of Cancer, but the Lion's Gate portal opens whilst the sun is in the sign of Leo. We've got this strong Leo energy that is igniting our fire of personal creativity and self-expression. And we have strong Virgo energy with Mars and Mercury both in Virgo. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and Mercury is slowing down, currently in its shadow degrees, and preparing to go retrograde towards the end of August, as the sun also moves into Virgo. Every fire sign is followed by an earth sign. That ignition, that initial ignition of creative passion, gets to be followed by the practical steps of aligned action, which is our Virgo is about daily ritual, routine, devotional practice. So these shiny, showing up, creative, self-expressive energies that we're being invited into with Leo are grounded by our daily devotional practice in Virgo. And this is what moves us forward on our path, because we commit to showing up for our own practice, and we commit to the ritual of our own daily devotional practice. And Virgo also helps us to discern, like all the earth signs do, helps us to discern which are the creative sparks that we have the resources and the intention and the commitment to move forward with into the long term, and to build into our lives and into our practice. So that's all I'll say about the Virgo energies for now. And to finish with, I want to touch on the energy of the Three of Pentacles, which is a card that's come up for us a couple of times recently. And it's a card that's been with me and working with me quite deeply, especially over this past week. Three of Pentacles I've spoken about before. One of the ways that Three of Pentacles shows up for me is as the weavers, the fates, the three fates, which I would also call the weird sisters, those who weave the web of life. And with Three of Pentacles, we're invited to recognize our own autonomy and our own ability and invitation to participate as the weavers of the web of life. I've mentioned this many times before. We are all always co-creating the world that we are experiencing. So Three of Pentacles is our invitation to intentionally co-create the world that we desire to experience collectively. Three of Pentacles reminds us that we are a thread in the weave of life, and that we are the weavers. We have the power to participate in that co-creation, and so we can choose to do so intentionally. And as Three of Pentacles for me connects up with this energy of the sun in Leo, the 8-8 Lion's Gate, the Venus star point that I've mentioned, the Venus retrograde, I feel that Three of Pentacles is also asking us to, again, reevaluate and discern what is our path, what is our contribution, what is the thread that we are called to co-create with, what is our best and most aligned participation in reweaving the world that we perceive and the world that we experience, because we know with Pluto in Capricorn, and as we transition from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, we know that the old structures are crumbling and dissolving, and that we are here as participants to co-create in the reweaving of new forms, new structures, new ways of being. Three of Pentacles in conjunction with this Venus retrograde, for me, invites us to really discern what is the path that is opening up for you right now. And that, with Venus retrograde in Leo, that is driven by, what are you most passionate about? It might be something different than you have been doing. It might be something different than you have expected. It's definitely showing up for me in that way. My creations will be evolving and are beginning to evolve, especially as I commit myself more and more to my daily practice. My creations are evolving. You may find that your creations are evolving too, that you can give thanks to the creations that have supported you up to this point, and be open and curious about the new creations that are evolving through you as we pass through this portal of the 8-8 Lion's Gate, and Sirius illuminates our soul star with new codes and frequencies and information and direction. And Venus has been asking us continually to discern, what do I value? What do I feel passionate about? What do I want to create in the world? And Three of Pentacles supports us with this inquiry to really get clear about, what is my path? What is my practice? Where have I been out of alignment with the gifts I'm here to give? Or where is there a new alignment coming in that is supporting me to evolve the creative practices that I share and that I work with? Because as we step into greater alignment with our own path and our own practices, and when that is guided by our passions, and in Leo also our pleasure, we can open up to receive more abundance and more nourishment, more self-replenishment from the creative practices and processes that we are participating in. And we also are in greater alignment with our own power to create change in this world. And that's what we're here for as visionary writers and creatives. So I'll leave you with those thoughts, and I'll thank you once again for being here. I'd like to also just mention this beautiful yoni pendant that I picked up at the Glastonbury Goddess Conference this weekend. Very much invited by the energies of Leo and Sekhmet to step into my own sensuality and sexuality as being the foundation for my passion, my power, and my pleasure. And I invite that for you too, if it feels resonant. And once again, to give you my gratitude for being here. Thank you for liking, commenting, sharing. Come and find me on Facebook and Instagram at Writing Thriving, and let's evolve this together. Please share with me what you're doing, how you're evolving, and how these energies are showing up for you. Sending you so much love, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.